All right, here it is, folks. Your Daily Dispatch for Tuesday, the 8th of April, 2025. Supreme Court allows Trump to enforce Alien Enemies Act for rapid deportations for now. The Supreme Court on Monday allowed President Donald Trump to enforce the Alien Enemies Act for now, handing the White House a significant victory that will let immigration officials rely on sweeping wartime authority to rapidly deport alleged gang members. The unsigned decision in the court, one of the most closely watched emergency appeals pending in the Supreme Court, lets Trump invoke the 1798 law to speed removals while litigation over the act's use plays out in lower courts. The court stressed that going forward, people who are deported should receive notice they are subject to the act and an opportunity to have their removal reviewed by the federal court where they're being detained. The court's three liberal justices dissented from the decision, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, a member of the court's conservative wing, partially dissented, being yet another disappointment from Trump's first administration, but that's fine. Supreme Court's upheld the rule of law of our nation by allowing the president, whoever that may be, to be able to secure our border and protect our families and the country itself. That's what Trump wrote in a Truth Social post. So, yeah, that's very good, and hopefully we'll see rapid and expanding use of that power to clear out the illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, major story here, Florida sting operation finds heinous international child sex ring with over 1 million videos, including babies. Florida Attorney General James Othmeyer announced on Monday that a truly heinous child pornography ring was found during a police sting operation, resulting in the arrest of 8 people. The international ring involved a website that led investigators to locating 1 million child sex abuse videos with some infant victims. Special Counsel Rita Peters, who's leading the prosecution efforts in the matter, said many of the children in the photos and videos are found in the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The subjects are being charged with multiple felony counts, including RICO, money laundering, and the purchase of child pornography. Absolutely horrific. The leader of the ring was a man living in Turkey named Mehmet Bozyuk. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement is working with Homeland Security to extradite that ringleader. Uthmeyer pointed out the Chinese social media app TikTok was allegedly used by the monstrous criminals to procure the images and videos, saying it's crucial that the company be held more accountable. Which I would agree with all social media. Tell you what, if you could stop fact-checking people's personal observations or personal experiences about things like vaccines, instead go after the inordinate amount of child sex abuse material on your platforms, I think we'd all be a little bit happier. Meanwhile, this story, China is not backing down from Trump's tariff war. What next? The trade war between the world's two biggest economies shows no signs of slowing down. Beijing has vowed to fight to the end hours after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to nearly double tariffs on China. That would leave most Chinese imports facing a staggering 104% tax, a sharp escalation between the two sides. Smartphones, computers, lithium-ion batteries, toys, and video game consoles make up the bulk of Chinese exports to the U.S., but there are many other things from screws to boilers. With the deadline looming in Washington as Trump threatens to introduce the additional tariffs from Wednesday, who will blink first? I think it's a mistake to think that China will back off and remove tariffs unilaterally, says Alfredo something, a special advisor to the Chinese Center of the Conference Board think tank. Not only will it make China look weak, it would also give leverage to the U.S. to ask for more. We've now reached an impasse that will likely lead to long-term economic pain. China hit back with tit-for-tat levies, 34%, and Trump warned that he would retaliate with an additional 50% tariff if Beijing doesn't back down. Uncertainty is high, with more tariffs ranging to more than 40% set to kick in on Wednesday. Many of those could hit Asian economies. Tariffs on China would rise to 54%, and those in Vietnam and Cambodia would soar to 46% and 49%, respectively. Again, we'll get more into the tariffs later in the show. But again, I mean, I can't say it enough. I mean, Trump is upending a century-old economic and geopolitical world order that was designed from the outset with the intention of screwing America over and benefiting countries like Mexico and China. And it was always that way. That was always the case. We'll show you videos from back in 1992 of Ross Perot making this exact prediction. And of course, everything he said came absolutely true. And we're in another situation like COVID or any number of other occurrences in the past little while, where all of the experts claim nobody could have ever seen this coming. Nobody knew what was really going on. We were all working off the best information we had, and the experts were making the best decisions they could. And yet somehow at that same time, you had dissident voices, often silenced and censored, expressing exactly what the truth was. Somehow, some people knew. It's just the experts and all the people in charge and all the people implementing these things had no idea how bad they were going to be. But of course they did, because that was the point the entire time. Again, if you want to know what it takes to be a conspiracy theorist, simply to understand that things don't just happen, okay? The factories didn't just get up and leave one day. All the factory workers didn't just decide that all of a sudden they no longer wanted to have union jobs with health care and that they would all just become addicted to painkillers. These things are policies that are pursued with the intention of their outcome. The outcome being the dispossession of the American people, the destruction of Western society, and the consolidation of international authority in the hands of unelected banking elite. So we'll get back into that. And Trump is destroying all of that. Like Alexander slicing through the Gordian knot, he is ending it all in one massive and powerful show of strength. Meanwhile, Colossal Biosciences says it revived the long-extinct dire wolf. Wolf. But they didn't really. They actually didn't. So no need to worry about that. This is not so much a story about cloning or reviving an extinct species as it is about DNA and genetic manipulation using things like CRISPR. Colossal Biosciences, the Texas company attempting to bring back extinct animals, announced Monday the revival of a once long gone dire wolf. Our team took DNA from 13,000-year-old tooth and 72,000-year-old skull and made healthy dire wolf puppies. Colossal CEO Ben Lamb said in a press release. The company is based in Dallas with some employees in Austin. The wolves, thought to be extinct for 12,500 years, were as much as 25% larger than gray wolves and had a slightly wider head, thick fur, and a stronger jaw. So what's actually happening is they basically took some of the DNA of the dire wolves and spliced it into gray wolf DNA and are now saying they have these dire wolf puppies, which again is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I, for one, would like to see megafauna returning to wreak a glorious vengeance against their human usurpers, but this is just not really what's happening here. Instead, what is happening here is that they're normalizing genetic manipulation to design living beings to be something in between natural and inorganic, in a very dangerous forewarning for the world ahead. And yes, Joe Rogan did a big interview about this where he learned to his shocked amazement that human beings had already been genetically manipulated. And I think this technological race should have probably as much attention as AI does, but we can get back into the dangers and potentialities there. Finally, Netanyahu to depart U.S. for Israel Tuesday after disappointing visit. We'll get into that visit and where the disappointment comes from on the other side. Stay with us. It's the American Journal. Go to thealexjonesstore.com/Harrison to support us. We'll be right back.